Our next guest says this move doesn't seem to address any strategic issues beyond a grab for dollars and warns that it could be a slippery slope. Let's bring in Stacy Rasgon, senior analyst at Bernstein covering U.S. semiconductors. Stacy, it's great to have you on. Have we ever seen anything like this, either in the semiconductor space or tech in general?
I've never seen anything like this, no. No.
Why do you think it's a slippery slope?
Well, where does it stop, right? I mean, so look, from NVIDIA's standpoint and from AMD's standpoint, I get it, 85% is better than nothing. And I think it's important for them to be able to sell into China, because otherwise you're just handing that market over to China and to the local players. That market's not going away. We need to be able to compete there. So that's good. I think that should happen, on its own merits. You shouldn't have to, pony up an extra tax, into the pockets of the government to be allowed to do that. It's a very slippery slope. Why does it stop with China AI? Why not extend to other stuff in China? If you take it to its extreme, why couldn't you have to, pay a tax to do anything? I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
AMD and NVIDIA are trading higher on it, though. Is that because they are getting access to China?
Well, again, 85% is better than 0%, which is what they were getting before. So, I get it. It's dollars for them, and I understand. I just don't like the mechanics of it. And we could have that discussion. I'm sure there's arguments pro and con, but I don't like the precedents that this sets. I really don't.
I mean, is the counter to this the notion of diffusion, which China has been extremely good at doing? And what I mean by that is this idea of pushing out its emerging technology, having this economic game plan to basically dominate these emerging markets across the world, making it very hard for other competitors and other countries to jump in. And so they've arguably put themselves in a position, and a lot of folks point to that DeepSeek shakeout, that moment of realization earlier this year, as it starting to happen in the AI space as well. So could the argument be made that a deal like this is actually to counter that and create a U.S. diffusion strategy?
Sure, but you don't need to have to pay extra money to do that. That should be happening all by itself. The reason to let these U.S. guys sell into China, remember, these are constrained chips. China already has local chips that have better performance than what NVIDIA and AMD are allowed to sell there, because those guys have one arm tied behind their back. The advantage of especially the NVIDIA chips is ecosystem, right? Most of the Chinese AI has been built on the NVIDIA ecosystem. They want to be able to use that. If you completely ban these sales into China, you're not only you encouraging more purchases of local stuff like from Huawei, but you're also encouraging the local Chinese developers to coalesce around that ecosystem in China and make it stronger. Then over time, again, to your point, why would it stay in China? It would potentially diffuse outward. We should be making it easier for our guys to sell. They're not more difficult. I don't know why you have to put a 15% tax on top of everything else. We should be doing it just because it's the right thing to do for everybody.
So if I shift gears here a little bit, but stay on this theme of U.S. government intersection with the semiconductor space, the fact that Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan is expected to meet with the president today, what are your thoughts? What are you expecting? Is this good for Intel shareholders?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad that he got on the airplane in his meeting with him, either in Washington or in Mar-a-Lago. I'm glad he's going there. We saw the tweet, or whatever you want to call it, the truth from the president last week, calling for Lip-Bu Tan's resignation. Look, so my own belief, he called him conflicted because of his China investments as part of his, he runs a venture capital firm called Walden International that has a lot of investments in China. Look, I think the opportunity, to educate the administration on the nature of those investments, I think the opportunity to sort of plead the case for a strong Intel, an Intel that actually even though they've been sort of pushing out some of their investments, has still invested, $100 billion over the last 4 or 5 years in the U.S., and making the case for a strong, I think is an important thing for Lip-Bu to do. And he should be, and I'm glad he is taking the opportunity to do that. Now, whether or not that will be enough to change Trump's mind on everything else, I don't know. Trump's going to make up his own mind. But I actually am glad that Lip-Bu is making the trip.
And finally, because let's cover it all right now, your takeaway from Micron, and I guess perhaps just as importantly, looking across the semi space, what would you be buying here?
Yes, I don't cover Micron. It's a colleague of mine, so I don't want to step on his toes. They did positively pre-announce this morning. They were calling out stronger pricing, particularly in DRAM, which I don't think is an enormous surprise, given what we've seen. But I'll let my colleague, if you want, comment on the stock. In terms of the space itself, look, we've still liked the AI names. The AI cycle is back on like in spades. We've seen CapEx numbers continue to march higher. NVIDIA's been doing well. Broadcom's been doing well. I've been a little more lukewarm on some of the analog names. People were playing them earlier in the year on sort of the bottoming thesis, which maybe we've seen, but it's hard to sort of disaggregate that cyclical recovery from potential pull forward in front of tariffs. And some of the prints we've seen, at least relative to expectations this earnings season, have been somewhat disappointing. And so that, but I'd still, it's sort of, maybe it's getting a little tired, but I'd still be focusing on the AI trades. That's where I'd want to be right now.
Okay. Stacy Rasgon of Bernstein, thank you for joining me.